Hello, my peeps. Today I have the pleasure of chatting with Patrick Stewart, who has had quite the journey on Medium. Despite not being active on Medium for a super long time, he has rather exploded in followers, started a really fast growing publication, and on top of that was invited to Medium's Boost nomination program. He's a true mover and shaker in Medium, and also happens to be a good friend of mine. So Patrick, welcome. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome. So how long have you been on Medium? Because I don't remember how long, but it hasn't been that long.
So my account originated in 2015. I did one article and then just stopped for 8 years. And then this February, I had been writing a personal blog for a month and remembered, hey, I think I saw someone post about it on Mastodon, a link to their Medium. And I thought, hey, I have an account on this thing. And so I reopened the account and kind of copied over a couple of articles, and those articles really took off with a couple of people. And it was just like crazy, like wildfire for the last 8 months. It's been quite a ride.
Nice. I absolutely love people's Medium origin stories, because it's funny because in certain circles, like for example, tech, Medium's really well known, but I think in a lot of other ones, people had never heard of it. Like I'd never heard of it. So it's always interesting to hear how people found out about Medium.
Yeah, the one article I wrote about was an esports article. I was big into esports back then for writing, and I thought, hey, nobody's writing about this. I'll write about it. And nope, no.
Well, I think you definitely found a better niche now, which is Taoism and sort of overall philosophy and spirituality and a bunch of different elements. How did you get into that?
So my journey with Taoism really starts about 5 years ago in earnest. I remember being a little kid and we had this old Windows 98 PC, and the only thing to do on it was paint. So I would take all these flags and designs and would just, recreate them in paint because I was bored and it was summer. But I remember finding this yin yang symbol, and that was one of the ones I really liked. So throughout my life, that symbol kind of pops up here and there, different books. And then about 2018, I went to a jazz convention out in Denton, Texas, and this guy was selling handmade necklaces on bone that had a yin yang on it. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. So that kind of drove my curiosity to pull up that symbol and what it meant. And it originates from ancient Chinese culture. It's associated a lot with Taoism now, although Taoists didn't create it. But that got me into reading and really kind of got that train rolling.
Ah, that's really cool. And so it's been 5 years now?
Yeah, so it's been 5 years. I took a lot of classes under another YouTuber named George Thompson. He's studied in China with a bunch of kind of official Taoist masters. His YouTube channel is great. So I've been taking classes with him on and off, and it just blew up from there. So when I wanted to start writing, that seemed a very natural fit, was to write about what I had learned and share kind of my thought processes and what I'd experienced in my life. And I heard that, on Medium, the way to get seen and was to do these things called publications. And I didn't really know what they were or how they worked. And I didn't know that there were other publications that you could join. I just heard you should make one, like there should just be one. So I did, and only really intended it to be for me because I thought it would trick the algorithm into showing people my work more often. Like I thought that, being in a publication, the algorithm looked for those more. So I did. I made one and I called it the Taoist Online because that was the online screen name I was going by on Twitter at the time. And lo and behold, about a week later, a few people had offered to continue to write. And I found another guy named Nathan, and he was also big into Taoism, and found a guy who was in Stoicism. And I thought, maybe this shouldn't
Is that Nathan Chen?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I well, no. It's Nathan Welsh. Nathan Welsh. He goes by the name Nathan in Trees. Yeah, is his screen name. But I didn't make it up. But he and a couple other people, we thought that rather than the publication be just for Taoists or Taoism, maybe since Taoism and the concepts of it are so kind of universal and a lot of different philosophies and religions, that it could be more of an all-inclusive publication. And we couldn't really find anything like that on Medium at the time. There wasn't, there was mindfulness publications and there was Know Thyself publications, but there wasn't really anything dedicated that we could find that was purely philosophy, religion, and very accepting, right? Very open, very collective. And I think that really struck a nerve and a chord with a lot of different people because within, 8 months, we went from being 3 writers to 500 writers and all the things you said earlier. I mean, it's just crazy. I think we publish 20 articles a day now. And I remember the early days when we were publishing like 4 articles a week and they were all mostly just me. Right. So yeah, it's gone crazy.
And this was within, so when did you start that? By the way, you have completely answered the next question on my list, which was literally, how and why did you start the Taoist Online? So
oh yeah, sure.
you got perfectly ahead of me. But when did you start this?
So I just looked into my old stats this week, and I think it literally launched on March 1st. So the publication itself is just from March. I like to say the organization, which was really just me for a couple of months, is about 8 months old. So I go back to about January when I had a personal website that was using the domain before I moved it over to Medium. So yeah, but the publication itself is literally just since March.
Awesome. Wow. That's absolutely incredible to get to 500 writers in less than 6 months. That's crazy. Now I know you also did something interesting that I think some of our viewers might want to hear about, where for a little bit you did try to sort of run the TTO on Medium, but also off of Medium, and you were getting external traffic by putting it on Flipboard. Can you sort of tell people a little bit about that? Because I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah. So I had this idea that became more of an experiment where I thought that since we were ballooning so fast, I thought that I could take an external website and mirror a lot of the writers' content with their permissions on not only Medium, but also on the external website. And on the external site, I put a bunch of ads on there to see what revenue would happen. And then in order to shove people into the external site, we used a social media site called Flipboard. Flipboard is essentially a web page where you can create digital magazines. There are millions of users on this site. It's been around for over a decade. It's still semi-unknown, but the iOS app is really popular still. You can do things like generate RSS feeds and put them into your magazine. You can share any URL, any picture, text-based, and put that all in your magazine. And then Flipboard users will go there. And if they share it, then someone else can share it. And that viral traffic dumps into your article. Little did I know that was going to be extremely successful really, really quickly. We had an article get about 10,000 views within the first 3 weeks. And that was kind of a huge eye opener. Like, oh my gosh, like there's something here. Like we need to capitalize on this for the writers, for the organization, for the pub. So this dual life began to happen where I would send traffic from Flipboard into the external site, and I would send Medium traffic, just let it be its own thing. And it took off so well that we drowned in copying and pasting articles. Within a month, we had raised $5 in revenue for ads, which is actually, something, given the fact that a view is really worth, like nothing, right, per view. So we were gaining thousands of views per month, but the team at the time on who was running the publication was me and a 16-year-old in London. And we just couldn't keep up.
Handle it.
When I hit the boost program, things got really nuts. And I couldn't do for the writers what I had promised I could do. So I had to shut the mirroring off, and I couldn't find a way to automate it. So, it was just me copying and pasting a bunch of times. And I would spend about 2 or 3 hours a day, first thing of the day, just literally running this external website. And if in the future, if the team gets bigger, if I can maybe pay someone part-time, then I would love to redo that. But for now, it's a pipe dream.
Yeah. If you ever revisit that, you may want to talk to Amethysta. I know that she was able to get some good automation tools running for the site that she's doing. So she's doing the same type of thing. And she was using automation tools. I can't remember which ones, but she could tell you which ones. And
cool.
because she anticipated, she's like, if it goes well, it's going to be too much work to handle.
Yeah, it was.
You really can drown in your own success when you're a team of one.
Oh, yeah. Well, now we're a team of 7. I started asking for volunteers for editing pretty quickly. So we have 6 editors, and most of those, I think all of the editors are now, they've taken over a social network. And then we have one very nice writer who has taken over a different social network without being an editor. So we're on like 10 different social network platforms, a website, which I still run the external website, but it's more just a landing page now. And then the Medium publication, it is a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, like fully functioning organization of volunteers, right? I mean, we get paid for being Medium writers. And I tip them when I can, but yeah, it's
you don't get paid
amazing
for running publications. Yeah. And you, I remember Sturgy, Gerald Sturgill. He told me the day he's running your X or your Twitter stuff. And he was really excited about that.
Yeah, he's on Twitter, or X as it's now called.
We call it Twitter.
Yeah, I still call it Twitter. One of my original writers took over Instagram. Nani Hurley is on LinkedIn. Yeah, it just goes on and on and on. And every time I did a new volunteer.
Hi, Nani and Sturgill. I know you'll both be watching. Awesome. So you're actually running through some of my questions without doing it, because my next question was, I know you have a great team. What's it like running it? What's it like running the team?
Yeah. So in my day job, I'm a customer support manager for an online e-learning platform. So
my next question is literally, how do you balance your day job and family and all this? You're perfect. You're perfect.
So that gives me a lot of skills with running an online team who are in different countries, trying to coordinate scheduling and, okay, well, if you're going to be on here, then, I can be on here. We don't want to all hit the queue at the same time, because then it feels like, someone's doing all the work and then other people are not doing anything. So we've spaced ourselves out pretty well. As far as balancing my real job with this, I work from home. I've worked from home for 3 years, and I've also done the same thing in my job, where I've scheduled this customer support team to work at different times around the world. I've got several staff who are in the Philippines. Some of them are in Europe, and then more in the United States. So it came very naturally to kind of divvy the load, and I used a lot of the same skills to really balance how much effort I was putting in versus how much effort they were putting in. And this is all volunteer kind of as needed work. So it became really important for me as we started to grow and grow and grow to really determine, well, when are they working too hard as a volunteer? And at what point do I need another volunteer to now share that load? Because burnout's going to be a very real thing for someone who's doing it because they like it. And that I like doing this only goes so far when you're just drowning in editing articles.
Yeah.
And luckily, through either social media reach or just contacts and friends I've made through different Discord channels through Medium, I found a good team, and we're all happy. And I think we're done growing for the most part for a while. So we're going to make a big push into more community oriented here in the future. So rather than, another social network or another, I know a lot of publication owners spin off different types of content into another publication, like a more niche, like a more niche publication. And we thought about that, but we decided not to do that to the Taoist Online. But we are going to make a big push into kind of what we can offer readers and writers, and just community members to kind of give back all the success that we've had. We want to now try and push into helping them. So whether it's, free downloads of, like, we have a calendar coming out soon with philosophy quotes that Nani's made. We've got
you've got your merch on, right?
Oh yeah. We have paid merch that we've had for a little bit, t-shirts and hats, and that's on the website, by the way. Shameless plug, thedaoistonline.org. But yeah, so that's something that I've always been really keen to do. Is, it's not about, so far it's been about us accumulating writers and viewership and, boosting your read numbers. And a lot of us are paid, Medium members, and trying to get the revenue up for the writer's work and for our work. And now that we've kind of reached this tipping point of, okay, we're very stable. We've reached a growth level that we're happy with. It's not really about getting new writers. It's going to be about what can we do for them as a team and as an organization. And that's what we're going to see from now on. So like just last week, I started a YouTube live stream that happens every Sunday with the Taoism classes and lessons. I'll probably turn that into a podcast at some point. But yeah, and then all the cool announcements that I am trying to finish writing today and did not get time to do that before my children come home. Because once my kids come home, that's it. It's over. Like it's time to be a dad. So time to go pick up people.
Yeah. Did I hear that for your team, not necessarily for the readers, but for your team, you had something the other day that was a meditation or a group?
Oh yeah.
Something? So
one of the ideas I've been throwing around for community participation is different ways, like different YouTube streams or meetings or sessions. So there's the Taoism class, and another idea I had was a type of like a guided meditation session. So I attend a lot of those. I attend once a week with George Thompson, another guy I mentioned already. But yeah, they offer kind of daily meditation sessions, and I find those really useful. So I wanted to be able to offer those as a perk. It's not something I think I could do every day at 5 a.m., which is the only time I'd be able to do it. But if you're a paid supporter and you want to make a donation, then we want to be able to give back to you. And that's one of the things that we'll be willing to do, is kind of on request. If you want to start your day off really quietly and do some breathing exercises that I know, then yeah, we're happy to do that with you.
Awesome. And I have to say that I really love how you're really taking sort of a team aspect of it, and especially trying to avoid editor burnout, which on Medium is real.
Yeah.
Because you do get involved in something because you're passionate about it, but that can fade over time, especially if the workload becomes unmanageable. Um, for example, I edit with New Writers Welcome because one of my passions is helping other people get into writing, because I've been doing it for a while and I just think it's just one of the greatest things, and it can be very cathartic at times. So for me, New Writers Welcome was a great fit. And one of the things I love that Robert does, Robert Ralph, he's the owner of the publication, is he has us each manage one day in the queue. So for that day, we get to be the mayor of that town's ass. So that queue is our full responsibility, and we get to really sort of take ownership of it. And it also helps people from either not having the right coverage or having too many people in there at one time, which can also be a bit of a pain. So I love that you're really taking that into respect, because it's real on Medium. Editor burnout.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to transition a little bit from the TTO and into you joining Medium's Boost nomination program.
Yeah.
Can you tell us sort of how you got into that? Because I know there's a big waiting list, and how it's been overall.
So the way I got in is kind of a strange story, and
all of your stories are strange.
I know. I always feel like I don't deserve a lot of the success I've had, especially on Medium, because a lot of it's come through, just being friendly with someone, and kind of building those connections through either social media. And so in this case, I
matter a lot on Medium.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I've been on a social network called Mastodon for about 10 months now. When I discovered that Medium was hosting their own Mastodon server, I joined. One of the other Mastodon users was a woman named Deborah Groves Harmon. Yeah. So I just through commenting on her articles, and
I've got Deb coming up for the interview as well once she gets back.
Nice.
I think it was Spain or Italy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she's out. Just through kind of knowing her, I ended up being recommended for the Boost nomination program, and they were looking for recommendations very early on. Yeah, it wasn't for the first round of nominators, but I think it was the second or third round. Yeah, and it was pretty quick. So I got in, they looked at the publication, they looked at my work, they really liked it, and they had me apply, and here I am, I'm in. And that has been just the wildest, most crazy ride I think I've ever done for something that wasn't my job. Like the amount of hours that have gone into this thing is just intense.
And you run a Slack group that the different nominators communicate with each other and sort of stay in the loop on.
So early on, when the program was new, there was a Slack community we were kind of all invited into. It got so big that it just couldn't be managed anymore. So they went ahead and shut it down. There was a few of us, though, who really wanted to continue to talk with each other and bounce ideas off each other. I
have to say, it got real quiet after you guys left.
Yeah. So I went ahead and made a free Slack community, and just between word of mouth and, again, social networking and private messaging each other on Medium, and who remembered me and another gentleman named Syrian invited everybody in, and there's a few dozen of us on there now. And we talk every day. I help invite new members, and we try and find new Boost nomination members that we can invite in. And I know they just invited another round. So we've been going through and finding all the new nominators and trying to get them into the community. I mean, it's all voluntary, of course. Like nobody has to be in it. So not everybody is in there, but I'd say there's like 40% of us are in there now.
Yeah. Do you know roughly how many nominators there are? Because I know there were 60-ish, but they've just added a few more. I know they want to get up to 100 in or by the fall. I don't know if they're close to that yet.
I'll just say it. I think they're around. I think they're around 80 now.
Yeah. I assumed about the same.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exact numbers, of course, but that's what I've been told is something like 80.
Yeah.
And there's about 50 of us in that select channel, so the majority of us, I mean, more than half of us are in there.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody who is hoping to get boosted? And or what are the common things that you see that you think, oh, I wish they hadn't done this because I'd like to boost it?
Yeah. So here are my like top 3 things. And this is why I tell my editors who I ask for recommendations. Now, obviously, they're not part of the Boost program, but they publish a lot of stories too. So I ask them for their advice and recommendations. I tell them that Medium is looking for uniqueness, something that if I Google whatever this article is about, am I going to be able to find a almost identical article anywhere online? And if I can, that's not Boost worthy. And that's unfortunate sometimes, because sometimes I think this is a great scholarly article, especially when it comes to philosophy or religion. But if I go to Google and I type in, top 5 lessons of Christianity, there's like a million of those, like a million of those articles. So no matter how knowledgeable you are in whatever philosophy or religion, there better be something in there that makes it yours, that makes it something only you can find because you wrote it. Now, whether that's relating it to your personal life, relating it to an experience you've had, maybe firsthand experience of someone you knew, right? So it's a secondhand story. There needs to be something identifiable in that work that only you can make. That's something they are absolutely looking for. Another thing they're looking for is professional level style. So do you have giant blocks of capital text for no reason? Like, is your paragraph completely bold? Like, is the whole paragraph bold? Like, again, like for no reason. Yeah. Like
italics.
Yeah. Like, do you have random words italicized? I mean, as someone who studied writing in college, I was a communications major. So I wrote a lot and I had to learn APA style. And it was drilled into us. So I see these, they're not necessarily mistakes, but they're not, APA style writing. That's really hard to boost. And you get into this weird space as an editor where you say, okay, well, do I get really heavy handed and go through and, red ink everything, as they say, or do I ask their permission for it? But if I ask the permission, do I say, hey, I want to nominate you? Because if I say anything that I want to nominate you and then they don't get boosted, that makes them feel awful. Yeah. And there were 2 times when I first got into the program that I did that and they weren't boosted and I had to be like, hey, sorry. Yeah. They're like, well, why didn't I get boosted?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I can certainly understand wanting to sort of save somebody from the disappointment that you essentially create for them.
Yeah.
Now, me personally, I'd still rather know that an editor thought like, hey, I really like this so much that I'm going to nominate it. I would still find that. to be really worthwhile and an honor. So I'd be really happy with that, even if the person at Medium who reviews them decided it wasn't something that they wanted to boost. So I can kind of see both sides of it, because yeah, you wouldn't want to create that disappointment for somebody.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't know. I'd want to know.
Yeah.
Maybe for the people watching, if you want to put in the comments if you'd want to know if something was nominated.
Yeah. Would you want to? Would you?
With the possibility that it might not get boosted.
I mean, I've had 2 very explicit examples where I was overly heavy-handed on editing, kind of without saying, "Hey, I edited it because I want to get you nominated." And they were very unhappy and called. I had someone just straight out be like, "This isn't professional." I'm not a professional editor. Like, this isn't my job. Like, I don't know. I was like, okay, well, I mean, you can pull the article, and they did. Well, that's okay. They stopped writing for me.
You know what? I really appreciate that you were honest about that, because I have read that from a bunch of people, and from people who don't publish for your publication. So I know it wasn't you, about boost nominators who are their editors changing the piece so much that they felt like it wasn't truly representative of them anymore. And that is problematic, because you don't want your style taken out of something just to get boosted. Or maybe you do. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one. Like, what
rookie mistakes?
Like what are you willing to do to get boosted? What are you willing to to sacrifice to get boosted? Some people might say, change it, I want to get boosted. And some people might say, no, that's me. That's how I want it. So, but I appreciate you being honest about that, because I think that is a problem in the boost nomination program.
Yeah, running a publication and just learning how to be an editor. I mean, I've never been trained as an editor. I mean, I know, like I said, I learned APA style guide 20 years ago in college. I mean, it's been a while, and not everybody agrees with all those rules. Maybe they do AP, maybe they do SLA or AP, whatever. But MLA, right? It's hard. And I've got people who are like, why'd you put a comma there? Like, why'd you take a comma out? Like, I really wanted that comma there. It doesn't belong there. Like, I don't know. You can't write the way you talk and hope for the best, right? Like, I don't know. So it's hard.
You can, but
you can.
It's likely to get boosted.
Yeah. Boosting is hard when it's not edited.
But I think for anybody watching this, I don't want anybody to be worried about, oh my God, I have to go learn APA style or AP style.
No.
Any of those. That really isn't required.
No. Of course not.
Because Medium isn't professional writers or academically trained writers. I remember doing that in university, and God, it was a son of a bitch. So I don't want people going out and learning that. But the bit about sort of, random bolding and random italics and for me as an editor, another one that bugs me is paragraph length. The ones that are just an entire page in one paragraph, which makes it hard to read.
Yes.
Or one sentence on every line.
Yes.
For about 300 lines in a row. And it's like, oh, why? Do you have that many disjointed thoughts?
Yeah. When it comes to boosting and paragraph length, the majority of readers on Medium are mobile.
Yeah.
So if you have an article and you're wondering if your paragraphs are too long or too short, look at it on your phone. And if it feels like you're just this giant wall of text, maybe split that into different paragraphs.
Yeah. All right. So can you just quickly recap the boosting advice? So
yeah, sure. So make it unique. Format properly, as professional as you know how. Watch your paragraph lengths. right? Not too short, not one sentence per line. They don't like that. And not 18 sentences per paragraph. Nobody likes that either.
Happy medium.
Yeah, happy. There's got to be a balance in all things, guys, including your paragraphs.
That's very philosophical.
Yeah. It's like, yes, indeed.
Okay, so one more question. What advice would you give people who are brand new to Medium? I know that you're still fairly new yourself. You were there in 2015, I think you said, but then you weren't seriously doing it until this year. I'm still pretty new myself. I'm actually coming up on a year. It'll be a year and 13 days. So, but what advice would you give people who are brand new on Medium?
I would say that you need to write your truth. So I'm a believer in lowercase t truth. So I had a rhetoric professor who used to call it capital T truth, which is like a universal God truth, right? Like there's a set law, and then there's like lowercase truth, which is your truth. Like everybody has their own kind of perception of the world around them. And what is true for you and what you are so sure exists may not exist or be true for somebody else. Maybe we're more of a gray area type civilization. So when it comes to writing, and the position I took, and the position I tell new writers, is that if you're not writing what you believe to be true, nobody will buy that. And not monetarily buy it, but when they read it, they won't connect with it. Like they won't feel impassioned or empowered by what you're putting out there. I mean, you could come out there and say, it doesn't have to be a happy thing. You can write about loss. You can write about breakups. You can write about nonfiction, right? Like poetry. You can write all kinds of things, but the writing for me needs to invoke an emotion or invoke something inside of me that really connects. And the only way I was able to do that was to write from inside, right? Was it about my beliefs? And when you write, don't second guess yourself. Don't say, well, I think blah, 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 blah. No, you just say, this is how it is. Like, this is my truth. This is true. Now, if you have to verify that through statistical facts or research, okay, fine, do it, right? Or if it's philosophical, then use your life as why this is true for you. But that type of writing, if you can find that within yourself and put that out and not be afraid and not be scared, that's what's going to get you reads and views and followers. Like more than anything else, you can write every single day. But if you're just putting out AI generated garbage, we know like it shows. But if you're writing from like what you believe inside, that will get you ahead. Like that will get you success.
Yeah. It's funny because I would almost say that doesn't necessarily apply to how I approach things, but it does just differently. Like I think the way that I've sort of connected with my audience and is sort of just by being authentic.
Yeah.
Authenticity creates connections and bonds with your readers. And like you said, whether it's, happy or sad or, experiencing loss or just writing something fantastical that comes out of your mind and creating this work of fiction, it has to be just authentically you. And I think that really helps in the originality aspect as well. Because when you're authentically you, only you can be you.
Yeah.
Everyone else is just a shitty AI copy.
I mean, we're all so different. Like there's we look different, we act different, we speak differently, we live different places. Your writing should be a reflection of what makes you unique.
Yeah.
And if you write a piece and you read it and you think, this, would I say this to someone? Is this a story I would tell to like my best friend? Like, is my best friend going to care about this story? Like, probably not. Then like, why write it? I mean, writing in and of itself is a good exercise, right? But publishing, that's where you can be a little bit more choosy. Like, write every day, publish a few times a week. Not everything you write needs to go live. Just like not everything that goes through my head comes out my mouth. Sometimes there's a filter, and sometimes that filter messes up, and sometimes you say something you don't mean. Yeah. So writing is the same way. So be judgy a little bit.
I think on Medium, most people, unless you're just super organized and on the ball, but I think most people just have an ever-growing draft folder, and some of that stuff should stay in there.
Yeah.
Some things should stay in there permanently or be deleted. Some things just need to be reworked before they're released to the public. So I think being choosy and not necessarily publishing everything that you scrawl out is a good idea.
I've had articles that I've had articles that started out on one topic or idea, and just through kind of that weird train of thought, you realize like 6 paragraphs down that it really isn't about what you started, and you're like, I'm going to delete these first 4 paragraphs and then just start over. Like, this is my new article, and then you just move that up all the time. Oh yeah. I used to worry about it because I was like, am I too ADHD? Like, can I not just sit down and write this thing out? And no, it turns out we all do that. So that's good to hear.
No, because I think as you write it, you really start to flesh it out, and even your own thoughts and feelings on what you're writing can sort of change and mold as you do it, and you get from sometimes like a surface level into a deeper level, and then you realize that, oh, I shouldn't even be writing about that first bit. Just go on, and the real meat and potatoes is what you created later on, I think.
Yeah, it's true. Very true.
Yeah. All right. So more advice for people who are new or newish to Medium. Should they start a pub?
So here's what I would say. I've had people ask me that, like, hey, I'm new. Should I make a pub like you? Here's what I would say. If you go to Medium and you have an idea, see if that idea is there, right? See if somebody out there is doing the same thing. And if they are, help them, because you're going to find more success if you make those connections, if you're friendly, if you volunteer, if you reach out, make a friend group, right? That will propel you forward. You will be cool by association, right?
Yeah. But you have to make sure the pub's active, because there is a graveyard of dead pubs on Medium.
Oh yeah.
When I made my big list of Medium publications, oh my God, the amount of ones that are started and not active, and you can tell by looking at them that somebody went in gung-ho, and you can see within like a month or two, they're just like, yeah, this is hard.
Yeah, they gave up. And
the posts get more infrequent, and then you can see that at one point they're just like, nah, this sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I met a woman, about 2 months ago, and she was looking for a publication that was specifically for African American women. And we found one for her that was about African American voices, but it wasn't particularly about African American women voices. And we all thought that was a great idea. And we were like, oh my gosh, like that.
Kind of like Zora?
Yeah. And like that you should go with that. You should run with that. And, that's one of those really small, niches where I don't know if she ever made it, but we were like, oh my gosh, if there's a huge potential for that, and the fact that one didn't really exist like she was really looking for, according to her, then we pushed her to make her own pub, and that we would help her and give her any tips or tricks that we had for making it or editing or running it. So yeah, that's my advice. If you can't find an active publication that's doing what you think there's a demand for, then go do it. Like, find a friend who agrees with you and go in together. Like, from the very beginning, I had help. I had, one or two people within the first couple of days. I found a Discord community and just said, hey, here's what I'm doing. Can anybody help me? And you'd be surprised how many people are like, yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, I want to run a publication. All right. Well, we don't know what we're doing, but let's go. And we did.
Now, if you knew what you know now about running your publication, is there anything you would have done differently from the beginning? Because, I mean, everybody learns as they go, and hindsight is 20/20. So is there anything you would have done differently? Obviously, you've done a great job. Maybe you did everything right. I don't know.
I wouldn't have wasted time with the website because my stress levels just kind of freaked out for a month. So I wouldn't have done that. I would have focused more probably on getting maybe YouTube up and running a little faster. YouTube has kind of come in at the very tail end of kind of what we're doing now that we're focusing more on community. But I think I would have gotten into that sooner. I would have.
For anybody watching, be sure you really want YouTube before you start. It's a beast.
It is.
It takes so much time. It takes way more time than you think it does. I mean, for me, there's recording the video, which, depending on how long it is, can be anywhere. Like, even a short video, that comes out to be like 1 minute can still sometimes take 15 minutes to record. Whereas some of my longer ones that are, 15 minutes, I probably had over an hour in front of the camera. And then the editing was probably, hours.
Yeah.
Hours per video.
Oh yeah. I know for my 1 minute shorts, I've gotten it down to an hour from the minute I start recording to the time I hit upload. It's an hour for 60 seconds of screen. Yeah. It's an hour worth of script writing, recording, editing, the intro, the outro, getting on there, descriptions, sharing out to all the social media networks. I just I can't. Like, this is wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Even the stuff after you've edited your video. So you've recorded you prepped for your video, you shot it, you recorded it, and then you edited it, and you're like, all right, I'm good to go. There's still more stuff to do. Yeah. You've got to create your thumbnail, which takes time. You've got to upload it to YouTube and put in the descriptions. And, and for example, for me, I do the chapter. So I've got to rewatch it and find all the important points about the chapters. And yeah. YouTube stuff.
But one of the other things I would have done differently, I would have divvied out editors faster. I think it really took me a long time to be open to my first editor, my first serious editor. I had a guy very early on kind of want to edit, and then he just never did anything. And I didn't exactly ask him, hey, are you going to do anything? He just sat there. But I found a very nice lady named Amanda months down the road. I mean, we were just ballooning exponentially before I finally was like, hey, I'm drowning. Can somebody come in and take over this queue or split this queue with me?
Yeah,
I waited.
Amanda,
I waited way too long for that. I would have done that much faster.
Yeah. Because it really can grow a lot faster than you think, and I guess almost anything doing online creation ends up being more work than you think.
I mean, we went from, to show you kind of how exponential this thing got, I mean, I think when I joined the Boost nomination program, I had a couple of bigger name Medium writers name drop me in a couple of articles, like you and a few others. We are looking for writers article that I had written in April went from like the worst, lowest viewed article in my entire catalog to being seen by thousands of people. Like in 2 months, it went from like this many views to like this many views in like 6 weeks. And we went from one editor, me, to like 4 editors. And it wasn't just because I just willy-nilly had people volunteering. I was going on to like Slack channels and Medium pubs and Discord channels being like, does anybody know an editor who wants more work? Like, can I please drown somebody? Like, I am going to quit this pub. Like, I need somebody, please. And yeah, like this is way harder. And that
somebody come suffer with me.
Yeah, please. And that we're looking for writers is my highest earning article, and it's not even close. Like it's like multiple times over higher earnings than anything I've ever written. And this is true for new writers, going back to new writers. One of the other advices I have is that the article you think is like the easiest thing you just like hammered out one day, that will be your most successful thing. The one that you spend like all your time on and you're like, I love this article. It is from the heart. I believe this article. Like, no one's going to read that and be okay. That's okay. That's okay. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that article where I was like, hey, I'm looking for writers. I wrote that out in like 15 minutes.
Yeah. I actually remember when you were writing that, and I said, don't forget to use. It was like the Right for Us, and then like a few other.
Oh yeah.
And then I think it was like the next day or the day after. You're like, I got like 100 people or something crazy.
I was having at one point, I was waking up to 20 people a day wanting to be a writer every day, 7 days a week for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it just went on. Like, my Google form broke that I was using. And so we moved it to an email address. I made a Gmail account, and I now share the email address with someone because it was so many. Like, I just dragged stuff into her folder and I dragged stuff into my folder, and we were still doing like 20 people a day. We just took time to go through them. And yeah, be ready. If you want to run a publication, fine, more power to you. But there is a weird off chance that you get really popular really quickly, and be ready, because you're either going to find help or you're going to burn out. Yeah. Those are your choices.
Yeah. So somebody mentioned to me the other day something about they said, oh, I feel really bad. I applied to this publication and then I never wrote for them. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think they noticed. I have a question. Would you notice if somebody applied and then didn't write for you? No.
Nope. No, most people, Medium doesn't have any way to really test this theory. But my theory is that most people write 1 or 2 articles for your publication and then never come back. And they simply let their name kind of sit on the publication list, and they don't bother to really go through and, edit or take that out. But yeah, I would say, you'll have your core writers who write pretty regularly, once every other week. And then you'll get the new people who come in, they write, 1 or 2. And if they have success, then that's great. They stick around. And if not, then they keep looking. That's what I did. I mean, at the beginning, I was writing for just anybody who would listen to me, like anyone who would accept me. I was throwing articles over there, Bounce and Behave in blogs, Illuminations, New Writers Welcome. I mean, just anyone who I could get my hands on,
Yeah.
And then, use that to kind of funnel to kind of gather followers. And then I would write something and then put it on my publication to try and be like, oh, by the way, this is my publication. Maybe you should read this publication.
Yeah.
And there's enough, there's always room for one more pub.
Yeah. Well, I think it's always sort of been the way that a lot of people sort of bounce from different pubs. But for me, I think the success that I found was really getting into a couple of pubs and then really getting into the community.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get more people engaging with your work and interacting with your work. And this was back when it didn't pay. So I think we might see a resurgence in people really sticking to pubs a little bit more, where they find, they find their crowd of people because they can build on engagement within one pub. Whereas if you're bouncing around, somebody skimming through the pub to pick out a title to read, they're not going to recognize your name the first time you publish, but the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh time, they're going to be like, oh, that's Patrick. Let's see what Patrick's up to. So I wonder if that's going to change with the new engagement reward.
It goes back to kind of really, I hate to use the word building a brand because it's so overused with online everything. But when you're running a publication,
used for a reason though.
Yeah, like you do have a brand. Like you're doing a publication that runs that publishes a specific topic or category. And if you can build value in that category and kind of show people that your publication is trustworthy in that arena, then maybe they don't need to follow you personally, but they'll keep coming back as like that old kind of magazine style, right? Like everyone knows who Time Magazine is, but like how many people can name anyone who's written or who writes regularly for Time Magazine? Like I can't. Maybe that's just me, right? But that brand is valuable, right? And people know Time Magazine. They know what they're going to get when they go over there, and they pick that up and they go online, they read it. So there's, building that kind of community and atmosphere around your publication, which is something I've always tried really, really, really hard to do. Anything from trademarking the name very early on before I really should have, making a logo and then sticking with it. Like this logo I made months and months ago, and it has not changed, right? Like it's on every social network. It's on everything we publish. It's all over the merch that we have. There's that real kind of identity and color balance and palette creation and all these things that really drive home that particular the identity, the awareness. Yeah. And if you can nail that, then your publication is off to the races, and who knows how big you'll get.
Yeah. I remember when you first made your merch and you got your first example, and you had a little TTO sticker, and you put it on Discord, and everyone's like, that's so cool, I want one. And I think you had something on like your escape button.
Yeah.
Is it still there?
Yeah, it looks like this.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wish I could have. I ended up not liking them well enough to kind of go crazy with them and offer them, but it's fun to have. My kids thought it was cool. And man, if you can convince your 9-year-old that you're cool, and you're in. Yeah, you're in.
All right. It's been about an hour. I don't want to take too much more of your time. I'll let you get back to drowning in success.
Yeah.
Is there any parting wisdom you wanted to share with people?
You've
already said a lot, so
I have said a lot. But no, sure. Let's see. Parting wisdom. I will say it kind of goes back to what I was speaking on earlier, is that the publication, the Taoist Online publication, really wants to be a place where people can share ideas and thoughts. And a lot of writers start writing and they say, I want to help people. And that's great. through their writing, and we should. So for us, it's not enough that we just write. We want to follow through with that. Like, we want to give anyone who's watching this and anyone who might be interested, we want to give you guys a place to come together and not be judged, and to learn about different cultures and different backgrounds and different philosophies and religions. You know, with the culture being what it is nowadays, I think a lot of people are afraid to speak their mind or, you know, say what they think is true. And giving everybody an outlet of where that can happen peacefully and where we're all very accepting of each other is rare.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a place like that, then you can find us on Discord. You can find us on every social network you can possibly think of. Obviously, you can read our work on Medium, and we've got more in store. Like, you guys as readers have given us so much, and we're going to do everything we can to give back to you guys.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll have to have you back on here at some point, because probably another 6 months you'll have done another 27 things.
Maybe.
All right, Patrick, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'll of course talk. I'll of course talk to you shortly, and I will put all of your links in the description so that people can check out all of the different things that you're doing online.
Sure. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Patrick. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.